The regional breakdowns continue, and man, I'm really loving these 60 card piles this format. There's just something exciting about them. I'll be like the 33.8% of you guys. The numbers changed a little bit, but we're filmed a little bit further out here, so make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So the breakdown for the Carloncho store regional here is a little bit different of a story here. First of all, where in the heck is the Phantom Knights at? Alright, you flippity-floppity from one regional to another here. And this one said that Sword Soul was the best represented deck for this event. What in the world actually happened here? Now, don't get me wrong. Sword Soul Synchro is a very powerful deck. It's just a lot of players haven't really had the time to explore some of the options with the deck, and I think it's kind of one of the things that's led this deck to be a little bit underexplored per se. So to see that, of all things, a deck like this is starting to pick up steam is really good here. Now, we also have a list here called The Pile, and it is Eldritch Adventure, Cyverse. It's a pile of cards, effectively. It's absolutely kind of crazy what this variant can do, and we'll showcase that here in a second so you guys can kind of see the level of craziness that is presented in this theory. Now, we had one virtual world list, which Punk Virtual Worlds picked up a lot of steam as of late. I think it's become probably one of the most popular variants right now. And of course, you know, you have Virtual World Adventure being a deck as well, but okay. But for this event, we had Punk Virtual World. Then we had one Flandrees list. Yeehaw, partner. You gotta love seeing the birds of prey out here. Of course, Sky Striker continues to be one of those rogue picks. I would say Sky Striker is definitely running the 1.5 train. You know, thank you, Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, for giving this deck the chance to still shine. And then we had one Tri-Brigade list out of the top cut for this event, which, I mean, this is a pretty gosh dang diverse top cut, but where the Phantom Knights at, though? Let's go take a look at this top deck list, shall we? Alright, the first deck list we have topping this event, actually winning, was Sword Soul Tenyi. Yay! Regional was taken down by Tenyi. Anybody surprised about this whatsoever? No, kind of this and Phantom Knights needing time to kind of, you know, duke it out this format. But this looks very reminiscent and a lot more standard of some of the previous builds here. No crazy adventure shenanigans in this build. One thing I do want to point out about this build is we have adapted the Auroradon combo at this point in time. It's going to be the main strategy focal point for this deck is Synchro Toolbox, Generate Advantage, Tenyi stuff, puts free bodies on the field, Heavenly Dragon Cycle, or whatever the quick play spell card is nuts. And we got 3 E-Tellies for this bad boy, so you get to play Ghost Ogre in your deck, which Ghost Ogre is just a free interaction point for killing off a Faithful Adventure. So, what are you telling me about this deck? Deck is absolutely a monster for what it wants to do, man. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the era of Sword Soul is back. Next up here is this 60 card pile. So this is Eldritch Magician Souls Turbo. I saw something very similar to this at the side deck regional this past weekend, which actually topped. We made a reference saying that this was a pile of cards, but we typically put this underneath Eldritch as the subpart here, but Cyverse Engine generates a Dagda package, so you can interrupt the opponent. The adventure stuff gives you protection, and you're just hand-trapped out of your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you have Macabre to Reaper. Your extra deck matters to a degree in this deck. But this is what the modern era of pile, I would say, really looks like at this point in time. If you want a deck that you can pick up, cover all of your bases this format, and just feel like an absolute monster when playing, this is the deck for you. This is really just the modern era of good stuff deck, all wrapped up into one crazy pile. Next up here, third place was Virtual World. Now, Virtual World, in the past I've said that we have the 2 builds. You have the Adventurer and then you have this build. Now this uses a splash of 3 Punk cards in the main deck. We're not even playing the Imperm Trap card because there's not much of a point here. And then the other thing with this build is now you have Fairy Tale Snow to add to a level of defense for this. I mean, you wanna feel like disgusting when thinking about the theory on this deck. You can Beatrice, dump the snow, and then you're effectively just set up to go. I also see here that we're doing the Dragoon shenanigans with this standard stuff. But honestly, outside of that, ladies and gentlemen, this is what a mock-up for Virtual World looks like at this point in time. And I'm glad to see we have Kha'Zix built in here. This deck is meant to handle out some of the more oppressive things here. But Virtual World never really dies. It just goes back down to a lower tier spot at that point in time. So not too dang bad. Next up here, 4th place, is another Sword Soul variant. Now, this doesn't look as crazy as some of the other variants. The big thing with this variant is this is going 2nd Sword Soul. I have not seen a going 2nd Sword Soul list for quite some time. We saw going 2nd Sword Soul pop up at the very early stages of last format when players were kind of figuring out the deck. And a lot of players are kind of in agreement that going 2nd Sword Soul looked good on paper. It functioned, it did its job, but a lot of players, they couldn't handle it. Like, the deck just died out. So to see that we've come back full circle here, we've got a going 2nd variant back on the table. You guys see how many like different variants of things that you can do with Sword Soul here. And I think that's what really needs this deck time to like function and process. It's like Dragon Link. You know, Dragon Link needs to go through evolutions in order to be played. And I think it's the same thing here with Sword Soul. So not too dang bad. Next up here is a Flunderies list. Oh boy. So we have 1 M-Pen, 1 Apex, and 1 Mega Raiza. Now, the first thing I'm going to say about this list is kind of tacked out. We have double evenly matched in the main deck, which is interesting. We have 2 copies of Crossout Designator, which, I don't know, is that just to, like, stop it evenly? I feel like a deck like this doesn't really need Crossout Designator, but I guess if you can stop an Ash, maybe stop a draw card, maybe stop a Harpies Feather Duster from resolving. I also see that we have Yield Dimensional Fissure in here so that you can stop the opponent. Okay. Outside of that, this is just interesting take. Also, keep in mind that 95% of these builds these days are citing the Dark Simorgh because it's searchable, all right? Yay, searchability. I love modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it fun? Well, looks like, hey, we also have Prosperity. We have X-Dreads in here. Okay. Next up here is another Sword Soul variant. Now, this is a little bit more of an equivalent to the Adventurer Tenyi Synchro Toolbox. Now, the reason why I still lump this in Sword Soul is because you still use the finer Sword Soul engine to do your thing. The entire premise of this deck is you're going to use the Rose Dragon package to climb up and do Synchro Toolbox shenanigans. Does that sound like what Sword Soul wants to do this format? It depends on your flavor. I see we also have the defensive play in here that you can drop the Fairy Tale Snow off of the Shooting Riser Dragon. Little interactions that you can do for 500. Outside of that, I'm happy to see that the TCG has started to adapt the Synchro Toolbox ideas that Japan was doing in the very earlier stages of things. But once again, Sword Soul needed time to adapt, figure out its identity, and to be that deck that it wants to be this format. And I think it did a very good job at that. All right, next up here is our Sky Striker list. Oh, okay. We got the Ogres built into the main deck. Check. Gonna beat out some of the harsher competition this format. I'm telling you guys. All right. Ye Old Ghost Ogre. Very powerful card. See, we have the TC boost here, so that we can fully disrupt the opponents. Okay. We have 1 Mystic Mine. I think a lot of players agree that Mystic Mine is either a 0 or 1 of in this deck. You're not trying to maximize and go too heavy on the rest of those. Outside of that, we have the 3rd Ogre in the side, actually. Holy crap. I think this proves that Ogre is just a powerhouse monster at this point. Triple Kagari, 2 Hayate, the 1 kind of 3 Shizuku is fine. Extract having the Ningrisu isn't out too. Okay, so everything checks out here effectively for what I would want to do. Yeah, I don't have any complaints about this striker list. I think that this list looks very good on paper. It handles everything that it wants to do. And once again, adaptability is very, very, very good. Last list we have for you guys here is Tri Brigade. Now, this is Lyricalisk, Tri Brigade, Brave. We are playing a Brave package in this deck. Set up an Omni Negate, laugh at your opponent. More Harpies Featherstorm targets. Alright, remember, Griffin Rider is in fact a winged beast, wind monster. So gosh darn it, if you set up your Omni Negate with the trap card set, feel free to just, here we go, laugh at your opponent. What are they supposed to do, ladies and gentlemen? So I do think on paper that this deck is solid. Once again, it's just one of these options that players need time to figure out after certain restrictions on the list, you know, losing certain things. You're like, Well, what am I supposed to do at this point, ladies and gentlemen? So that is your breakdown for the Carloncho store regional, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys think? Please leave a comment below. Tell me what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later on the day with some more cool awesome content. You guys stay safe out there, right? Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.